everyone. Welcome to the weekly webinar series of IEEE Malabar Subsection. So as all of you are aware, IEEE MSS is organizing a webinar on every Thursday. So this is the 10th webinar in this weekly webinar series. So today we have Dr. S.M. Samir as our speaker. Dr. Samir doesn't require any introduction to the IEEE members of Kerala. So he's a very busy person. So he has agreed to be the speaker for this week. So currently he's having an additional responsibility of leading the training and placement department of NIT Calicut, which he is doing wonderfully well. So getting a job is a dream for everyone. And everyone is worried in this pandemic situation about the job opportunities which are or the job market in front of us. So I hope today's webinar will have answers for many of your questions, or Dr. Samir will give you a lot of tips regarding how to look for good jobs in this pandemic situation. So I hand over to Ms. Deena, our anchor, for formally introducing Professor Samir. Over to Deena.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, dignitaries, spirited participants, and all of you present for this enthralling webinar on Will I Get a Job, organized by Malabar Subsection in association with IEEE Malabar Hub. 8 long semesters, 50 plus exams, hectic schedules, and head-breaking practicals. Once you have jumped over the life-tasking hurdles, your great engineering dream is done and dusted. And now you're off to pursue your dream career. But a sense of fear and uncertainty is palpable among job seekers who will now enter a completely new world, especially with everything coming to a standstill in the COVID-19 lockdown. Finding the right job has become a challenging task for many. But is it really impossible to get the right job? Let's find out in this session led by Dr. S.M. Samir, who is currently serving as the Head of Training and Placement Center at NIT Calicut. With many brilliant accolades and awards to his name, Dr. S.M. Samir is an integral member of the IEEE fraternity and was the immediate past chair of IEEE Kerala section. Without further ado, it is my esteemed honor to invite Dr. S.M. Samir to lead the session.
Thank you, Deena. Thank you, Madhukumar sir, for the kind introduction. It has been, the 10th or 11th week of this weekly webinar series organized by IEEE Kerala section. And when Madhukumar sir has asked me to give a seminar on in this particular series, I thought I will just speak about a topic which is of very importance to our student members, especially the student members of Malabar subsection, as well as the other IEEE student members and others. Looking for their placement opportunities in their respective campuses or even outside the campuses. So I'll move to my presentation. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you are able to see the first slide, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this presentation is titled as, will I get a job? Okay, I'll come to that. Okay, so before starting the presentation, I have a kind of disclaimer. Basically, what I know about the whole placement process based on my experience sitting as the head of training and placement at NIT Calicut over the last 2 years. And what I'm going to say is on one side, and what you expect in this particular presentation when you attend it, you have some, I mean, expectation about this program, like after this program, what I'm going to get, what kind of enrichment I'm going to get. That is on another side. And moreover, we have one more side, which is what is really needed. I mean, the needed skill set, needed preparation for cracking a job interview. So on one side, I may be telling about something. On the other side, you have your own expectations, and on the third front, you will have the reality, which could be different from these. And whatever I'm going to tell is based on the campus placement perspective mostly, assuming that wherever you are studying, you will have similar kind of opportunities in the campuses, companies visiting your campus for recruiting you as intern or full-time employee and all. And mostly you will be able to relate this talk in that way. And at the outset, I would like to thank IEEE Malabar Subsection for inviting me for this talk and giving this opportunity. Yeah, so when I mean, shared this poster with some of my friends, they have just, I mean, text me back asking like, what happened to your current job? I mean, why are you searching for a new job, right? So, so the title is like, will I get a job? I mean, this is basically a concern that many of the students who are currently in the third year and final years will have, right? Especially in the post-COVID scenario, though some of the fundamentals, so we are talking a lot about the post-COVID scenario, but then some of the fundamentals that I mean, we need to remember, we need to understand about the job market and the kind of preparation that we are required to do are too fundamental that it's not really related to the COVID-19 situation. So whether COVID-19 is there or not, whether it is pre-COVID or post-COVID, you have to have certain kind of, I mean, preparations required for cracking a job interview, right? Right. So I think maybe I presume that most of the attendees in this talk are Malayalis. So taking that liberty, I've included one slide in Malayalam, right? So will I get a job can be directly translated in Malayalam to Eniki Panikittumo. So നമുക്ക് ശരിക്ക് പണിയാണോ കിട്ടാൻ പോകുന്നത് അതല്ല ശരിക്കുള്ള പണി കിട്ടുമോ എന്നുള്ളത് നമ്മളുടെ പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ അനുസരിച്ചിരിക്കും, നമ്മൾ ഇതിനു വേണ്ടി എന്തുമാത്രം തയ്യാറെടുക്കുന്നു അനുസരിച്ചിരിക്കും. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇതൊരു വളരെ പിന്നെ ട്രിക്കി ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ആണ്. നമ്മൾ ഇതിനെ എങ്ങനെ ഹാൻഡിൽ ചെയ്യും എന്നുള്ളത് നമ്മളുടെ ഒരു ലോങ് പ്രിപ്പറേഷനെ ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കും. All right, jokes apart, now coming back into the reality, right? So preparing for a job or preparing for a job interview, to be specific, is not like preparing a, I mean, 2-minute instant noodles, right? So I mean, it requires a long and persistent efforts, which probably have to be starting early in the engineering program, and it will culminate towards the end of the program, engineering program, with a job in hand, right? So I mean, do not expect that I mean, just because an opportunity is coming into your way today, I mean, some advertisement you are seeing and you're just applying, you're able to attend some interviews after 1 week or 2 weeks, and then you prepare this, you prepare that, and go and try to crack the interview. Things may not work, right? It may work for some people sometimes, but may not be for sure not for all people at all the times. So therefore I mean, the kind of I mean, efforts required are different, and the interviews may not be the same for all. So the primary focus of this workshop, I mean, this talk, is basically the second year and third year of BTech students. Of course, the final year BTechs and the second year MTechs, etc., were I mean, the immediate I mean, batches who are going to attend these interviews and all. So probably they will be able to get something, and they may be able to adapt to some of these points, so that it would be like better late than never, right? But then if you start your preparations well in advance, like maybe second year onwards, at least third year, then definitely you'll be able to make a difference in this, bunch of people who are going to attend the interview with more or less with the same kind of specialization, same kind of educational background and all, but your resume has to be distinct, right? So it is, at this point, we are really going to start, right? So for every job interview, you need to have a CV, right? Or you have a resume or a portfolio, right? So this is a very serious prerequisite for getting into a job interview. And this is, in fact, a very important step which needs to be, addressed carefully. So first thing is that you need to have a neatly prepared CV, right? Without spelling mistake, without, formatting errors, with a decent font, probably a one-page resume or at the most two-page resume. Don't try to have a resume of 7 or 8 pages. No HR, no technical person will have the patience to go through a 5 or 6 resume written with a lot of jargons and all. So try to be as brief and as crisp as possible, preferably 1 page or maybe 2 pages. Some companies will ask for a biodata with scanned photographs in it when you share the soft copy, sometimes without a soft copy. So you should have both. And you should have both the print version as well as the soft copies of this. And needless to say, whatever that you state in your biodata should be truthful, and it should be free from typical mistakes, right? And as I told, everyone who will be coming for an interview will have a resume with them, right? So they all may be standing almost more or less on the same pitch, right? They would have completed 6 semesters. They would have completed, partly completed a bit of program in, say, computer science or mechanical, whatever, right? And what makes your resume different from the resume of your friends who are attending this interview, resume of your classmates, or if you're attending an open interview, how do you make your resume reflecting your skill sets, which is somewhat different, which is characteristically different from that of others? So that thought has to be put in while preparing your resume. While being truthful, if you want to write extra things in your resume which makes you as a potential candidate for a job, definitely you need to have additional preparation, additional skill set, right? So what are the important, requirements of, contents of a CV? Okay. What should a CV contain? Okay. So it should reflect your past academic credentials. Needless to say, your academic credentials are very important. So the CGPAs or percentage of mark that you have got for all your semesters, your 10th, your 12th, and your engineering various semesters, etc. So if your past percentages are not that good, right? If you have an year break in between, probably all these will get reflected in your resume very directly, and it may haunt a bit. You can't do much. And then you should have all your supporting documents with you, like whatever claims that you make in the resume, you should have your original certificates as a backup safely with you, so that whenever the company is asking you to share the copies of these, or maybe show the originals in the interview, you should be able to show. Now, marks and all, right? So that is one point. Another point is like, what are the additional direct curricular skill set that you have, like academic projects? Like, have you done any additional academic projects other than your BTech final year project, mini project, etc., which are mandatory requirement of any course? Have you done any interdisciplinary project? For example, if you have done a work on robotics in association, suppose you may be an electronics student You might have done a work in along with a mechanical student or electrical student or computer science students, a group of these three, and developed a robot, for example, for some applications. And probably that you will get a definite advantage over students who have just focused only on their specialization. This is very true, especially for non-circuit branches. Circuit branch we call computer science, electronics, electrical, etc. So non-circuit branches, why I'm telling this is, I'll come to that point later, that some kind of a circuit branch skill set would be now required for most of the other students also. So if you are a non-circuit branch student, then definitely try to have some interdisciplinary project done before you attempt for campus interviews and all. And this is one part of the project. Like interdisciplinary project, when you do, obviously it would be a group kind of task, but then you should also be able to show that individually you are capable. So your individual capability can be shown by means of some individual projects that you have done, right? So it could be related to the branch that you're doing, or it could be some area which is really passionate as far as you are considered. And you have done some course from, say, Coursera on, say, artificial intelligence, for example, and no one wants certificates just for the sake of showing some certificates, right? So you should be able to show that you have done a course from Coursera on this topic, and you have done a project which is related to this course for some application which is related to your field, or maybe some relevant practical project you have done, maybe independently. So it would be nice if you can show your independent skill set as well as your group skill set. That shows that you're a key individual player, and you're also a group player, basically, because in industry mostly you'll be required to work along with groups. Now we know that whatever things that we speak about are manufacturing capabilities of India. We know that we are not really, a top-notch player in the manufacturing sector. So if you look at the opportunities in the core sectors of, say, civil, mechanical, electrical, etc., our opportunities would be less. So most of the opportunities that comes to our engineers' way are opportunities related to IT related stuff. So which means you may require some decent coding skills if you want to crack such opportunities. So now the question is, how do we show that you have reasonably good coding skills, right? So gone are the times where companies focus on, hours of coding test. Some companies, even now, sometimes some companies give coding test of 2 hours, 3 hours, 8 hours, sometimes. But then it is increasingly changing. So nowadays, many companies are asking for your consistent coding efforts, coding skills, basically, which can be exhibited through some public coding profiles in HackerEarth or HackerRank or such kind of CodeChef or such kind of public platforms, where you will be able to continuously update your coding skills by taking up assignments, so that if your HackerRank score is revealed in your resume, that will speak quite a lot about your coding skills, rather than a direct 10 minutes, 15 minutes interview or a 2-hour test. They will be able to assess your potential in a much better way if you have a decent profile in these kind of platforms. So if you don't have a HackerRank or HackerEarth or similar kind of profiles already, try to understand about this and try to build a profile in these kind of platforms in maybe in another 6 months to 1 year, so that you will be able to continuously improve it and show to the world that you are of some level of programmer. Now I've told about a lot of things, right? Your academy projects, your extracurricular kind of activities and or co-curricular activities. Of course, extracurricular activities I'm not specifying here separately, but most of these extracurricular activities you'll be able to show to the interview panel only if you get a chance to reach the interview table. So remember, there are multiple stages before that. So your extracurricular activities may not help much in taking you to an interview table, right? Once you reach a table, probably you'll be able to show your skill set in a much better way and crack the interview if you are having co-curricular, extracurricular skill set. So what is the single most important metric? If I'm asked, based on your experience in training and placement department, what is the principal metric? You may disagree, you may differ from my view, but I would say that CGPA is a very, very important metric. So CGPA is one of the important metrics which is used for the initial filtering, right? So the most of the companies will say that, they will specify a cutoff, say 7 CGPA, right? But their job profile may be open to all circuit branch from computer science to electrical. So with 7 CGPA, probably I'll have about maybe 100 plus students. Looking at NIT Calicut, probably I'll have about 150 students, for example. Now, so this 150 is a filtered lot. You see, this lot, people with less than 7 will not be able to figure out. So the moment 7 is prescribed, all those without 7 are filtered, eliminated, right? Okay, so they are not even getting a chance to figure in the list which I'm going to send to the company, which your training and placement office is going to send to the company. Now, even when you say send a list to the company with people, 150 people having a CGPA of 7, they may do a filtering at their end, again, mostly looking at CGPA. So they may be planning to conduct tests for maybe 70 people. So they may see what if the CGPA is set as 8, how many people will be there? If CGPA is set as 7.5, how many people will be there? So they may be doing a filtering further. Again, mostly 99% of time, it is based on CGPA. You may be asking, why this CGPA? We know there are a lot of 9-pointers in my class. You are good for nothing. So I am a 6-pointer, but I'm good at this. So why these fellows are looking at CGPA with a lot of importance? So they will have their own reasons for this. So probably some of these reasons are that CGPA shows how consistent you are. So looking at your 10th mark, 12th mark, people will have some idea about your academic performance. Looking at your SGPS and its correlation with your 10th, 12th mark and all, people will be able to see whether you are a consistently good performer or you are an occasional. When you look at the SGPA variations, you'll see occasionally you may do well, occasionally you may not. So for some project, if they give, sometimes you may do well, sometimes you may not do well, right? Okay. So, and CGPA reflects a long-term effort, right? You study for a semester in a well manner and then you get a CGPA of maybe 8.5. So that may be reflecting your long-term skill sets, basically. Unlike aptitude test, for example, you may have done aptitude test, maybe it's a 1-hour test and you might have done well, but then it may not reflect, it may reflect your instantaneous capabilities also. So it is at this point, you must realize the importance of a 0.01 of CGPA. So suppose some company is saying that your cutoff is 7, then if your CGPA is 6.99, you are automatically out from the list. And I have tremendous experiences talking to companies like, can you allow, see, I have 2 students with CGPA 6.99. Can we allow this also? Allow these 2 students. So then they will ask, sir, what about 6.98? You may have some students with 6.98 also. So they are just, again, a 0.01 away from these candidates who are having 6.99, right? So if you want to realize the value of 0.01 seconds, you can ask PT Usha, right? So PT Usha has lost a bronze medal in Olympics just because of a 0.01 seconds gap. So therefore, some of these benchmarks like 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, etc. are very important milestones in CGPA, right? So if you are on the border this side, then probably you can try your level best to be on the other side so that you may get a chance to figure in the list which is being sent to the company, right? Okay, so now assuming that you are participating in a campus interview process and you have, shared your CV, your list is gone to the company, and the company has shortlisted you for participating in this drive. And mostly the first process in a campus recruitment kind of a drive would be a pre-placement talk, which the company generally gives before the online assessment, written assignments or online assessments or whatever, right? So if you have opted for appearing for a company, suppose you have some opportunities coming up, and sometimes you may apply blindly. I mean, whatever may be the opportunity, you don't really screen, you simply apply to these opportunities. I don't recommend that, especially if you think that you have multiple opportunities coming to your way. Be careful while choosing an opportunity. That is because when you give your consent to participate in a placement process, it means that you are interested in getting a job in that company. That is very, very important. If you're not interested in getting a job in that company, then please do not apply for the job, because eventually you may find it difficult to work with the company. Eventually you may create difficulties for your classmates who are appearing for the same job, and you are basically creating losses to those people also. So just because you meet their CGPA cutoff, please do not apply for a job. And if you really apply for a job, then or even before applying for a job, then visit the official website of the company if it is available, and then look at the career page, look at what are the open opportunities there, what are the skill set that these people are looking for, and read about the company from other sites if possible. So there are, possibilities for asking queries about companies in Quora. And there are sites like Glassdoor where you will be able to see reviews of companies. And sometimes when the company comes for a recruitment, they will share a job description, JD. And if that is available, go through the JD and understand the kind of expectation that the company has about the candidates. If you know some seniors working in those companies, try to connect with them, talk to them, understand how they feel working in that company, what is the job profile and all. And after this initial study, if you still feel that, yes, this job is of interest to me, this company is interesting, then try to apply for the company. And then try to attend the PPT, right? So PPT is a place where the company people, HR mostly, and other technical people will be coming and giving a presentation about the company. So you will be simply attending it, right? So while attending the pre-placement talk, make sure that you are on time in the presentation hall before time, maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the PPT, and occupy a seat comfortable to you and choose a decent posture. So what's a decent posture, right? So you can, you can be seated in different ways, right? And it is the first place where you show yourself to the company, right? So don't, sit in a posture which makes a little bit embarrassing to the people who are giving these presentations, right? So choose somewhere between these extremes, right? Don't be funny, don't be too serious, right? So in a pre-placement talk, it is expected that you listen attentively, and at least some of you answer the questions. In between they may pose some questions. At least some of you can try to answer the questions, and some of you will try to ask them questions if they are, asking for, some questions from the audience. So try to have, try to answer some, ask some, interesting questions, because if you have already done some research on the company, then probably you'll be able to answer some interesting, ask some interesting question, right? So you are creating your first impression about your institute to the company. So you are showing up yourself, you are showing your institute to the company, right? So especially when the senior management people are there in the PPT, sometimes some senior management people will also attend this PPT, they will come and give the PPT. Their hiring numbers will be normally flexible, and if they feel that these students are really interesting, they ask interesting questions, they are very attentive, and the whole mood is interesting, then probably they may try to take more students from your campus, right? So a joint effort between institute, the kind of hospitality that is extended by the institute, the company people, and the aspirants, you people, are required for ensuring a good start for the company when they come for the campus recruitment. Right. So suppose you have cleared the CGPA criteria, you have attended the PPT, now you have reached the test level, right? So you have now you have to face the real test. So these tests could be of different types. Could be aptitude test, okay? It could be a problem solving session. It could be coding round. It could be communication round, psychometry test, which is increasingly becoming popular these days along with coding or along with aptitude kind of test. All these rounds may not be there for every company, but at least some rounds will be there for every company, right? So these tests will be mostly happening through online platforms like HackerRank, or maybe through some third-party vendors. Basically, they will be facilitating these tests. They would be mostly online. Very rarely they will be written tests, pen and paper exam. Mostly it will be online. It will be generic. It will be automated, which will be giving the results almost instantaneously. So after the test, maybe in another half an hour or 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, the company will be able to fetch the results. And as far as coding test is considered, mostly you will be having the flexibility, freedom to choose the platforms. So sometimes you may be good at Python, you may be good at C. So you may wish to take the test at your own convenient platform. But from my experience, I've seen that most of the companies are flexible to pattern, though some companies are very specific to Java or JavaScript and things like that. So while you have multiple options for the coding round, mostly you have only one option for the other rounds, the technical interviews, the HR interviews, because for communication, English is the only choice, right? So you may have to, prepare for all this, right? You may have to prepare for online exam. So what is the problem with the generic test? When you have a generic test, like the company will already have some idea about the kind of test mostly then performed by your seniors in your college. Last year, I have instances where the company people said that, sir, last year from your campus, the cutoff was 110. So this time when I have seen 110, only some 12 students are qualifying. So I have reduced the cutoff to 80. So even then the number of students are only 30. So what has happened to this particular batch, right? So, sometimes the company will come and say that, so, I don't know what is happening with NIT Calicut. When I have done the same test for a local college, in Bangalore city, actually their cutoff was 140, but even with a cutoff of 100, your people are not qualifying the test. What is happening? So, the problem with automated test is that they have a lot of statistics available about the performance of students even before conducting the test. So you will be analyzed in comparison with the global population. Maybe your own batchmates, your seniors, students from other branches, students from other colleges, and so on. And sometimes some opportunities will be open to all branches, right? Company will say that, this opportunity is open to all branches, need not be computer science. So just because it is open to all branches, sometimes the non-circuit branch students, other people who are not very confident in coding, sometimes the opportunity may be a coding opportunity, all people may apply. And eventually what happens in the coding round, people may skip the coding round either partially or completely. So what is happening? This will show a very bad remark to the company. So because most of the companies will come for a campus recruitment only if they see that the number of students are some reasonably good number, right? So people will see that this is a kind of adjustment that the college has made, that some students who have already having a job have attended this test and deliberately performed badly in the test. We have heard this kind of allegations, though we don't really do this at all. So therefore, you might have done it naturally. You are not really good at coding, so you might have skipped the test completely. But you might have shown a very, very bad remark about your college to the company. Vaishnav, it would be nice if you can just disable your camera. Thank you. This is a problem with automated communication test. So you cannot request to repeat. I mean, once for all, your chance is over, right? So any non-verbal part is absent in this. So therefore, I mean, we have lost most people in this. I mean, in this particular round. So automated communication tests are very common nowadays. You will be asked certain questions by the system, and you will be asked to comprehend the question and then give a reply, right? So along with your technical skills, therefore you need to have a good communication skill also. You might have done a lot of courses from Coursera, NPTEL, or etc. But from my TNB experience, basically, I recommend you to have, I mean, good, I mean, communication and English listening as well as speaking skills. So if you are having a habit of watching series, probably you can watch Game of Thrones or maybe English movies or anything first with subtitles if you are unable to understand properly, but then after sometimes I mean without subtitles, so that you'll be able to improve your communication skills. Don't take it as an excuse to watch movies from morning to night, right? All right. Okay, so you have cleared your CGPA, you have attended the PPT, you have cleared your online assessment, communication, coding, aptitude, whatever, and then finally you are shortlisted for the interview, right? So interviews are of two types. It could be technical interviews and HR interviews, and mostly technical interviews are mandatory requirements. Sometimes some companies won't do HR interview. Their technical interview would be the last and final stage. Multiple rounds of technical interview would be there. And most companies will have a technical interview plus an HR interview as well, right? So this technical interview, you may feel you have done a lot of Vivas in the lab, right? You have given a lot of Viva, but there are some fundamental differences between the Viva that you have given in the lab and the technical interviews that these people conduct. So as teachers, we basically mostly want to ensure that you don't burn the lab, right? So we'll just check whether some of the fundamentals are okay, right? We have basically prejudices sometimes, like if you are a 9-pointer, probably when you come and sit in the lab for the Viva, probably we may know that you're a 9-pointer, so whatever we are going to ask, probably you'll answer. So we'll have some prejudices also. Sometimes we may lose mark also in this process, like 6-point. So I mean, if we hear sometimes I don't know answers, probably we'd be happy because we can, I mean, send you back and ask the next person to come. Okay, so these all depends on the moods of the faculty. Whereas the company is coming for a much serious process. They want to recruit you for a long-term perspective, right? So they would like to know you, and they would like to know what you what you know and how much you know, and how do you approach problems, and how do you reach possible solutions. This last point is very important, right? So when some question is given, it could be a coding related question or it could be a general technical question, how you approach a problem and probably with hints how do you reach possible solutions is a very important aspect that companies check in technical interviews. We have a lot of interesting examples and stories, but because of time constraints, I'm not going into specific examples. But still, some of the generic feedback that we have received from technical interviews, I'll just highlight: not understanding the question, right? So even with hints, people are unable to understand the question. So sometimes what happens is that even before listening to the question properly, people will start answering, right? So listen to the question carefully, understand the technicalities of the question, what is the technical element of the question, and then try to answer. No serious technical projects, right? So this is a common complaint that we have received even with our students as compared to students from metro cities such as Bangalore or Delhi or Chennai, where students have a lot of exposure and the students have done a lot of interdisciplinary projects and students have better communication skills and all, right? So see, when you're sitting opposite to the interviewer, then you should be able to show something other than your CGPA, which everyone has. When you reach that round, your CGPA limit is over. Your technical interview, interview test is already done. So you have to give something extra, something catchy about yourself. So no serious technical projects done, not confident about the work that they have done, about the branch they have, about the job that they are looking for, about the things that you know, etc. No interdisciplinary projects, not much individual work. So you might have done something along with friends, but a common question that you may have to experience is, what is your contribution to that particular work? And it is very easy for interviewer to understand whether you have really done something or you are a silent spectator to the group work. No idea about what is happening in the industry. The company maybe say Tata Motors, there are a lot of changes happening in the automobile industry. So if you go and attend Tata Motors interview, you may have to face a lot of questions on the electric vehicles, the new kind of battery charging mechanisms that the vehicles use, and a lot of interesting ideas about unconventional energy sources and other kind of things. So if you are not having at least some exposure of what is happening in the industry, it will be difficult to crack these issues, right? And lastly, but very importantly, they will look at students and they will easily spot on students who are not really interested, right? This is again very, very important, right? So there are a lot of, specific feedbacks also, like your students have knowledge of C, but none of them are exposed to Java, right? Whereas in industry, Java is the standard now and people should be having Java skills, right? So this is one thing. Sometimes people will say that, your C skills are not very good, right? So you may not be able to be a master of all these, but at least you should be master in one of these, at least C. So you can say that I'm very good at C, so that given an opportunity, right now I do not know Java, but given an opportunity, I'll be able to learn Java in a very, very short span of time and I'll be able to, right? On the industry side, you know that you have heard quite a lot about Industry 4.0. It is kind of a buzzword now. We know that a lot of changes are happening in the industry, from first generation industrial revolution to fourth generation industrial revolution, where everything is cyber physical systems. So some kind of, industrial IoT, network-centric approach, sensors, monitoring systems, automated monitoring system, automation, safety measures, etc., are all part of the core industries now, be it manufacturing industry, be it construction industries, be it electrical power generation, etc. Lot of issues related to security, lot of issues related to IT are there. So anyone who is looking for a decent job in core industries should have a reasonably good kind of IT kind of skill set also. You may be able to say a number of excuses that Java is not in our curriculum. I have studied C only in the first year. Now it is fourth year now. So I have forgot all these, but these are all very, very lame. So we have Industry 4.0 and blockchain, but appearing in 8th semester. Right now I am in 7th semester. So and we are a very core technical institute. I am a mechanical engineer. I really like the core job. No, so like playing with engines, playing with piston, playing with hammers, and all these kind of things. And probably you may face sarcasms like this, right? So let us not let them be not blockchains, but why can't they at least learn something about linked list, right? If the mechanical students can code a little bit, will you expel them from your institute? In 2018, what do you mean by core job, right? So in 2019, 2020, right? A core job means you should have, a blend of IT in it. So one tip that I can say from my experience is that, see, sometimes when interviews are happening here, some of the interviews will come out with excitement when they will come and share that. So say, I've done an interview now with one person. It was really exciting, right? It was very interesting. I did not feel like time was passing. So when will a technical interviews feel great about an interview? It's not really when you answer all her questions, right? Believe me. So not when you don't answer any of the questions, right? But then when you start logically, when you listen to the question carefully, start logically, and she is able to give you, some clues, guide you to a correct solution. Because from a company's perspective, it is best to have a listener who will understand before jumping into solutions, right? And a learner who is ready to be guided by an expert. There will be seniors in the company. You'll be working in a project with a project manager, and you will be given guidance to approach the problem. But then you should have some novel approaches for approaching that problem and solving it, basically. So this is what they're trying to understand. They know that you are from academics. You may not be having adequate industry experience. You may not be knowing what exactly is happening in the industry. So don't try to show a figure that you know everything, right? So just try to understand and then give a logical answer. And suppose you clear these technical interviews, then comes some interesting interviews that you may experience, which are the HR interviews. So invariably, you will face certain standard questions in HR interviews. They are something like, they will ask you to, Nandan, you explain about yourself, right? Why are you interested in this job? Where do you find yourself after 2 years, after 5 years, and after 20 years of career? What are your strengths? What are your shortcomings? Right? If not anything, these answers will really reveal your preparation and your interest. So these things look to be very standard, very simple, but then you may find it difficult to give convincing answers unless you prepare well for these questions. These are standard questions which can be easily, prepared well, for which easily, you will be able to prepare well, and so that you will be able to do a good job. So introduce yourself is perhaps the first question, right? So people know what you say and what you do not say, the order in which you say things, right? Where you stress and where you skip, right? And overall expressive power of you, right? How do you present yourself as a potential candidate who should be selected by the company? And if you're not interested even in yourself, this first answer itself will make you, throw away from this whole process, right? So what is the solution to all these common questions? So prepare the answers for these questions well, and practice, practice, and practice, right? How do you practice? First, record your answers using a webcam, listen to it, and attempt to improve. Repeat this exercise with your roommate or wingmate or hostel mate or classmate and take their feedback to improve, right? So don't be ashamed. Your communication skill may not be good, right? I know for civil service, day for yesterday, civil service results have come. You know that interview play a very important role in civil service. And people spend months for cracking the civil service interviews, right? By means of these kind of exercises. And it is for your job, your dream career, right? Prepare well. So record your sessions, your answers, and repeat multiple times. Record after 10 iterations, and you see the first one and the 10th one, and you see and understand the difference for yourself. Get like-minded people. Ask them to see your answers, right? And there are many public platforms, even free platforms, which offer, serious mock interviews. Sign in for some of those platforms, and then, get feedback about your interviews from such kind of opportunities. HR interviews, HRs are known to be very, very bitty, tricky people. Their objective is basically to confuse you, right? So you should be really tricky, to crack the HR interviews, right? So, you can look at this cartoon. Probably, if you give certain answers, sometimes you may, encounter troubles in justifying the answers you have given, and you may land into troubles, right? So, sometimes the answers of HRs would be sarcastic. I have many examples where people were coming out from HR interviews weeping and crying. I can say that, it was something like harassing. It is meant to be sarcastic sometimes, need not be intentionally harassing, but sometimes it may be sarcastic also, right? So, I mean, it all depends on how you take the interviewer in your own ways, your own strengths. You'll have several strengths. So you should try to take the interviewer in your strong skill set areas so that you'll be coming out successful, right? In cracking the interviews. For example, I mean, sometimes some questions will be asked for which there will not be any right or wrong answers, perhaps. So it all depends on, like, if you give a really punching answer, like the one you can see in this cartoon, right? So if you give a punching answer, then probably the last question that you may face will be like, can you start today? I mean, though in a campus interviews, you may not be able to start immediately, but if it is an off-campus kind of opportunities, sometimes you may get immediate appointment, right? So you must be, equally preparing for technical interviews as well as HR interviews. So jokes apart, I mean, I have seen issues of misunderstanding, misjudgments, and bruised egos, which cause dearly to the student and probably the rest of the community itself, right? So if you go to an interview room with a bad odor, perhaps you might have been using the same formal dress. I'm not highlighting the importance of formal dress. Everyone, boys and girls, should be in a formal dress. Even if your institute doesn't impose any restrictions, be on a formal dress. You need not have a tie, but if you are having a tie, that's well and good, but go in a formal dress. But then you should have enough pairs of formal dress so that you'll be going to interview room with a decent dress without any bad odors every day. So if you create a bad odor in interview room, not only that you will be out from the process, the next person coming to the interview room also may get a bad experience, right? So some of the crazy answers sometimes you may give, or your lack of interest may get reflected in the next the interviewer's mood, and this may affect the next person as well, right? So jokes apart, there are questions to be respected, there are questions to be reasonable. Our questions are to be reasonable, right? Probably company will ask, like, our CTC is low, right? We are giving only 4.5 lakhs. Why do you want to join us, right? So you may have to give a convincing answer. You cannot just say that, see, I am not bothered about salary at all. I just want to work and work. Your company is awesome, so I am ready to work for any salary. No, this is probably people will know that this is a kind of a wrong answer. This is fake, basically. So you should give that a reasonable answer. Like, I know that the salary is not so good, but then I am not having any experience either. So I consider this as a great learning opportunity. Came to that you give the working environment in your company is great. So I would like to work for maybe 2 or 3 years to see, how I can contribute to this kind of an organization, and then learn myself also, so that maybe after 2 or 3 years I may be able to look for other opportunities if I'm not getting a better opportunity, better position. So your CGPA is high. Why you are looking for a job, right? They may think that you may be planning for a higher study. Why are you trying to look for a job, right? Why do you want? Sometimes towards the end they will ask, do you want to ask some questions, right? What do you want to know about the company, right? So if you ask the questions like, when can I get my next promotion, or what is your work timing, whether it is a 9 to 5 kind of a job or things like that, you are really asking bad questions. So when you are being asked for these questions, then you should be able to have some good questions to be asked. Otherwise, keep quiet, right? So one common feedback that we have received is that your students seem to have less interest, right? So again, what I am telling is, like, if you are not interested from the very beginning, again, before applying to a company, I have told in the beginning that unless you are very interested in this particular job, do not apply for the job. So if you finally show at the end, when you're about to be selected, if you show a bad attitude, right? I have experiences here, right? So in the HR interview, finally one person, he told that, like, they have asked the question, like, what is your plan for the next 5 weeks? right? So he has answered like, I mean, after 2 years, I want to go for higher studies, right? So then what is it conveying? It simply convey that this person is planning to leave the organization after 2 years for his higher study. So this is just a stopgap period for him. In fact, that particular company was planning to give training for 2 years. Probably you may be knowing that company. It is one of the, I mean, leading players in this vaccine development recently, along with Oxford University. A company called, a Swedish company called AstraZeneca is, along with Oxford University and the Serum Institute India, is developing this vaccine. It's a big multinational company, and they were planning to give a 2 years of exclusive training with some training component in abroad. Whereas this fellow who is in the final HR round was telling that I want to leave the company after 2 years. Will that company recruit that student? So that is the kind of common mistake. So at the end, after the HR, actually the interview that HR has told that actually we want to select 3 students, but we are giving offer to only 1 student, because 2 other students we have seen in the HR interview that they are not really interested in our job. Another common thing that we have feedback that we have received is your students do not know what they want, right? So this is very important. Before going in interview, you should know what you want to become after joining that company in your career, even this company or that company. What is your career plan? So companies look for a person with basic credentials and a potential who is interested in the job. Who is interested in the job is very important, right? So what do you really want? This is the ultimate question. This is the ultimate question. And you should have clarity on the answer to this question. What do I want? Right? It's difficult sometimes. Still, ask yourself once in a while, what do I want? Right? There are a lot of easy questions that the students clubs in your institute and your institute as a whole can resolve together, right? Related to these, finding answers to these, right? This very important question. Better than this, perhaps, how to make good CV, how to attend a PPT, how to get a good CGPA, how to prepare for aptitude coding tests, how to improve communication skills, how to learn Java, how to do interdisciplinary projects, how to crack technical interviews, how to approach HR interviews, how to deal with Zoom or WebEx or telephonic interviews, how to get mock interviews. So these are lesser, simpler things that you may be able to do rather than figuring out answers to the most important questions, right? So with CGPA, with a good CV, with PPT, test, interviews, and finally you land on a job, right? But there, that's not the ultimate, right? We know that getting a job is not the ultimate thing in life. You may leave the job, you may go for higher studies. Sometimes you may continue in the same career for 30 years. You'll have family, need to be bothered about your health, right? At some point of time, I mean, you will die. And then you may take rebirth. Again, you may come to school, again CBSE, Kerala board, ICSE, state board, engineering, job. This life cycle continues, right? So doing what you like is freedom. It's a very famous quote that you know. Liking what you do is happiness, right? These two are, I mean, connected but different, right? So you must understand these are different, but you should try to achieve both freedom and happiness. I wish all of you, all these dear students who are attending this program, all the very best for their placement preparations, and wish all of you get your dream jobs which will give you freedom as well as happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very illuminating session. You have given us great insight to this vast topic. Sir, if it is to your convenience, we shall have a short Q&A session with the audience.
Definitely, yes. Yeah, definitely, yes. I'll be happy to answer whatever questions I would be able to answer. I'll stop the screen.
Right. Thank you, sir. Participants may post any questions you may have in the comment section. To the attention of all participants, a feedback form has been shared in the comment section. Please fill it up to avail your certificates. Participants are free to ask any question you may have in the comment section.
So we have about 180 participants, but no questions, interestingly.
If you want to ask directly also, you can unmute your mic and just ask.
I think we have a question in the comment section.
What change will in the number of company visit campus? Okay, so probably I think it is a question coming from a student from NIT Calicut. So this being a generic program, I don't want to give specific answers to the campus placement opportunities at NIT Calicut. But what I want to say in general is that in the post-COVID scenario also, we are receiving several queries from companies for campus recruitment slots and all. So at least the top recruiters in the country are really looking for recruiting new students. Things are not really bad as you may think. Probably the companies would be a bit more selective. While they are coming for campus recruitment, they may be a bit more selective because some of their projects might have got cancelled and all. So therefore, it is important that you should be able to capitalize the opportunities that are coming to your way without really looking at CTC. So CTC is a fictitious figure, basically. See, at this point of time, when you complete an engineering program, you really do not know much. You know some subjects, you know some basic coding skills or something like that. So it is very important that you get an opportunity to work in a company, work for 2 years at least, understand the job market and all, understand the skill set required for getting the next career jump, and then slowly make a move, right? So do not focus on CTC while applying for the job. But it is important that you look at the job profile. If the job profile is totally uninteresting, then probably you should not apply, right? So I have another question. Sir, interviews from IIMs expect extraordinary things from our CV. At the same time, they expect us to be ourselves. So what is a little extraordinary thing that we can do to enable to get into an IIM? So again, I really do not know what are the skill set required to get into an IIM. Basically, we are speaking in terms of a placement point of view. But what I can say in general is that, see, for all these kind of opportunities, the number of competing students are pretty high, right? So you should be able to show that you are not one among the mass who are applying for a position. Maybe a job, it may be a seat in a course, right? So how do you show that you have done something different, right? So you might have done some project which is, unique to you. You might have supported some common cause of the society. Say, for example, these COVID-related things. A lot of people have done different projects related to the sanitization and other COVID-related matters, basically, right? So, have you done something to the society? Okay, or have you done something to your fellow classmates? Have you done something to your institute separately? Have you done something as part of your professional society affiliation? Have you organized some special programs catering to the school kids or the less fortunate kids in by some means? So these are some additional skills that you will be able to show, right? Okay, so in short, what I want to say is that you should have something specifically explaining your skill set, your, extraordinary thing, which may not be truly extraordinary to anyone. It may be a little bit of extraordinary as compared to the rest, which may be valid, which may be important as far as a company or another institution is concerned. Okay.
Sir, we have another question. How relevant are positions of responsibility? Can they be listed with work experience? And must personal projects be given more relevance?
Yes, whatever positions that you have in working in the institute, you may be part of a club, you might have done maybe secretary of some club, or you might have affiliation to some professional societies, you have done some good work. You can highlight all those in your CV. But again, your CV should not be too lengthy. Basically, you should be, see, as I told, there is a chronological order for the skill set. Once you are in the interview table, you will be getting opportunity to speak about your skill set. If you write everything in your skills CV, then you will not be having, you will not be requiring the, an opportunity to speak about your skill set, right? So you give your skill set in crisp manner, maybe 1 or 2 sentences in the CV. Make CV as short as possible. But then when you are getting a chance to attend your technical interviews, you explain about the interdisciplinary and other extra projects that you have done. When you attend the HR interview, you explain about the other extracurricular, co-curricular things that you have done, all these. But if you want to take your CV to those tables, then you should have other skill set, which will make you eligible to qualify the initial rounds, the CGPA round, the online assessment, the aptitude test, the coding round, and so on. So it's not like if you're having some extracurricular skill set, you will be able to easily get into an interview table. Even if you have, I've not talked about GDs. GDs are very interesting, basically. Many of the core companies even now conduct GD as a round for elimination. Now, the unfortunate thing that happens with GD is that normally GD is conducted after the online assessment. So some 50 students are qualified after online assessment, and they may want to eliminate some about 30 students or 25 to 30 students. They will conduct a GD, for example. GD, what happens is that sometimes the people who have very good technical questions, sometimes the GD may be a technical GD or it may be management kind of GD. And suppose it is a technical GD, a technically good person may not be able to speak well. So he will eventually get eliminated. The person who speaks well, no, his technical stuff would be less. So he also will get eliminated. So the problem is that if you're having skewed skill set, if you're having technical skill set but communication skill set is weak, or if you're having a good communication skill set but technical skill set is weak, then probably you may get eliminated. So therefore, it is important that you try to develop your all-round skill set if you want to crack different kind of rounds that may come across in a selection process. Okay.
So some of the questions commonly point to the placement situation after the climate of COVID. If you could provide more clarity regarding this.
See, some of the sectors are affected because of COVID. Actually, our manufacturing sector, especially automobile sector, was affected even before COVID. Very recently, last 2 years, our manufacturing sector was almost down actually, with a lot of uncertainties on their BS6 standards and other kind of things, electric vehicle uncertainties or EVs and all. So if you are really looking for an automobile career, probably this is not a great time. And the construction works, basically the construction sector is also a bit down because a lot of regulatory compliance requirements have come in the construction areas, and many companies are not launching new projects because people are not having adequate money to buy projects and all. So therefore industries in those sectors are also a bit down. Whereas health sectors, so health sectors are basically getting a boom because of the COVID. And educational, online education. There are many companies working on online platforms. For example, Zoom itself, you know that Zoom has become very, very popular now. Many of the tutoring platforms, conventional tutoring platforms are all sinking. I mean, coaching institutions are basically sinking because they are unable to have face-to-face classes. But online tutoring has improved tremendously. So we need to look at, available opportunities where these industries are heading to. Most of the e-commerce platforms, basically, e-commerce is basically not affected much. They are getting a lot of orders. People are not really interested to go to supermarket, but they want to order. So order using e-commerce platforms. So there are sectors, and which are basically gaining momentum because of COVID, and there are sectors which are sinking also. And you need to understand what are the skill set required to get into a sectors which are basically gaining momentum in the post-COVID scenario, like some of these which I have mentioned, and then try to acquire the skill set required for getting into such kind of opportunities. But there are some fundamental rule of thumbs. Basically, see, aptitude test is a common test in almost all companies. Coding coding skill is very much required. A good profile in Hacker Earth or HackerRank or CodeChef is a great advantage, right? Whatever may be the job that you're looking for, unless you are looking for a very, very specific kind of code job, right? So therefore, there is no single answer to this question, but you have to look at the areas which are emerging in this post-COVID scenario and try to, do searches, talk to people, attend to webinars, and understand what are the skill sets required for capitalizing these opportunities. Thank you.
Another question we have received is whether resumes are specific to companies or can a common resume be used for all
Yes,
companies?
this is a very interesting question actually. So this is kind of a important thing. Okay. So for example, if you are looking for, the answer is no, you should have at least 2-3 different variants of your resume, right? If you are looking for a business consultant role, right? Business consultant role. So you should be speaking more about your communication skills, sometimes your coding skill also, and your extracurricular, co-curricular, and all little bit more. If you are looking for a core really job, then you should be talking more about your academic projects, your CGPAs, and their academic skill set and all. If you are looking for an IT job, you should be highlighting your coding skills in a little better fashion and all. So having, the kind of the different type of jobs that are coming to your way, at least you should have 2-3 different types of resumes. Basic things will remain the same. Your CGPA, your school credentials, etc. will remain the same, but some of the highlights may be different. So it is better to have 2-3 different variants of resume, catering to the generic disciplines of jobs that may come to your campus. And obviously your interest also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Due to time constraints, we shall only be taking 2 more questions. Another question that has been asked is, what is the average CGPA that is usually required for getting? See,
most of the companies, even most of the institutions are following CGPA. Many of the companies will follow percentage of mark even now for their initial filtering. Okay. So many of the companies, you can say about 70% of companies will specify that the CGPA as 7. You can say about, about maybe 30% or even 40% of companies will specify as percentage-wise 60% or 65%. The point is that most of the core companies will specify kind of higher CGPAs. Core companies will say that 70%, 80%, etc. Whereas IT-related companies will normally specify 7 or even 6.5. Sometimes they will specify 60%, but your CGPA conversion rule followed by your university or your institute will come into a disadvantage. Some colleges, basically most of the colleges in India basically follow a simple CGPA to percentage conversion rule, that percentage of mark will be CGPA into 10. So if your CGPA is 7.5, it will be equivalent to 7.5, it will be equivalent to 75%. Whereas if you are in NIT Calicut, CGPA to percentage is CGPA minus 0.5 into 10. So which means if you're having 7.5, it will be simply 70%. If you are in Kerala Technological University, I understand that it is about 0.375. So your CGPA minus 0.375 into 10 is your percentage of mark. So if you're having 7.375, it would be 70%. That's what I think. So these kind of conversion rules will be applied while calculating the percentage of mark, because most of the companies, still major recruiters in the country specify percentage of mark. but I would say that you should have at least a first class, right? Which means 60% or 6.5 or whatever.
Thank you, sir. Our final question for today's session is which website will be good for attending mock interviews? And there has also been a previous question regarding how important is it to practice before going for an interview?
See, it is very important to practice. You need not, go for mock interviews, but at least if you can do a practice at the first level, practice by yourself. Now you have a lot of opportunities. You record a Zoom meeting and you speak yourself with one more friend sitting on the other side. You understand, you ask him to evaluate your interviews, ask him to, give him some questions, ask him to ask questions, you give the reply, record it, and see how you're responding to the questions. Simplest of all, right? Or you do it, you simply can record it in your webcam and see it for yourself first. Then you do the second one. Then you can call 3-4 different people and ask them to sit on the other side and ask other sides, basically ask questions from different locations. And because now interviews are going to be happening mostly in virtual platforms where the interviewers would be sitting at their home in different locations. So they may be asking from different places, different types of questions. You can prepare these. I really did not recommend any particular platform because I don't want to name any platform for mock interviews and all. You can just Google search. There are some paid platforms. There are some platforms which give free access to a certain extent initially, but most are paid. So you can look at these also, and so that they will give you more analysis about your performance. I mean, they will do some artificial intelligence-based analytical tools to assess the performance of your interviews and give a lot of interesting feedback also, right? So again, so it would be worth, if it is a moderate kind of payment required, it would be worth to avail such services. Yeah, thank you.
With this, we shall now wind up our Q&A session. Samir sir, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to have you here. Thank you so much, sir, for your cross-dimensional perspective on such a multifaceted topic such as this. Your words will surely help pave path for all of our future endeavors. On behalf of IEEE Malabar Subsection and IEEE Malabar Hub, I once again extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Samir for taking a big chunk out of his very busy schedule to enlighten us with his words of wisdom. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dina. I could not answer all the questions which came in the chat window because of the time constraints. Sorry for that. I really hope and wish that you take some of these points seriously and start preparing for, cracking your dream job. Thanks once again to Professor Madhukumar, Professor Sabik, Professor Gopakumar, and all these other office bearers of IEEE Malabar Subsection, and Dr. Gilesh for facilitating this meeting. And thanks for the opportunity. I hope you, enjoyed at least to a certain extent on these topics, and we look forward to interacting with you in a later topic at a later date. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. To all the participants, thank you so much for being regular members of our webinar series. We hope this session has powered up your insights and widened your perspectives about various aspects of finding a job, and wish that you sow seeds of success and reap abundance of contentment in return. With this, we shall now conclude our session for today. Thank you everyone for your spirited participation. You may now leave the meeting room.
Bye.